vividly. I was, 8 years old. My first game was in San Diego Stadium with the San Diego Chargers in 1960 when they first came down to San Diego from LA.
The first game I ever saw was the one I was dressing up for, so it was a really neat experience for me that day.
Baby, 1989, that was the first NFL game I had ever seen, was the game that I played in with the Atlanta Falcons. I had to get back and played in my first football game.
My first game, I think I was about 14 years old. My dad took me to Pitt Stadium, where the Steelers used to play. I remember John Henry Johnson and Cannonball Butler. I love those names. And I just remember watching what those guys did on the sidelines, because you always see what they could do on the field. I always wanted to see what those guys did in between plays. And
I think, if I'm answering you honestly, the first game that I attended was the first game that I announced as a play-by-play guy. So my first game was at Tampa Stadium when the Buccaneers were hosting the Atlanta Falcons. If you know anything about football, it's a 100-yard field. 50-yard line is the middle of the field. My first football game, I said a guy was tackled at the 65-yard line. The producer got in my ear and said, "Go to commercial, JB. There's no such thing as a 65-yard line."
I was 8 years, 4 months old. I was at Tulane Stadium in New Orleans, the very first game in New Orleans Saints history. It took on the Los Angeles Rams, and my father just knew we had to be there. Game was sold out, and we were just hoping to round up a couple of tickets, and we got standing room only tickets. And we sat in the aisles at Tulane Stadium as the Saints gave birth to this new franchise. So it's a thrill for me to have been there when the Saints started, and then a few years later to be there and calling the Saints Super Bowl victory, their first in franchise history.